chair of the Global Black Caucus.
And I'm Adrianne. I lead our caucuses, get out the voting.
Welcome to the Power to the People podcast.
2025, and we're in our season of opposition.
And we will not obey in advance. Power to the people.
What that even means. Okay, so we're talking about what is woke. You should have heard our pre-recording conversation, but so what did you say? People asking what is even woke?
Yeah, what is woke? Because it means something else to these politicians than it would mean to like any normal person,
Okay, well, give me an example. Okay, well, let's see, you have to define what is a normal person. And one of the things that we learned, right, or did we, after the 2024 campaign is the Democrats are too smart and we talk down to people. And so we can't hurt people's feelings. We have to talk to people like they're kindergartners. So like, if you were going to explain this here's the thing, it should be at an 8th grade level because kids know right from wrong. And we have kids telling us. So let's say it's the language of the 8-year-old or 1st grader can understand. Because, right, we teach kids from the very beginning to share, right? Don't we? Or we're supposed to share, kind.
Yeah,
That to me seems like what woke is.
That's what it should be. Like to teach, I mean, but woke is, are we recording?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm
Do you want
sorry.
to start over?
No, it's okay. I just
Okay.
want to make sure that basically, as far as I know what woke is, it is to be, aware of what's happening around you and to be actively attentive about issues of racial and social justice. That's what I always thought it meant.
And
And
I think it can go beyond racial and social justice. But maybe what I'm going to say is racial and social justice. If you see woke is to, as you say, be aware of your surroundings. And that's an important thing for safety, not to just go through like act like you don't know what's going on. But I think what they're trying to say is that woke is bad if it means that you're looking out for somebody other than the white people.
Yourself. Well, yeah, that is what they're saying. But I honestly, I have to say, until like a few years ago, when people started using, or should I be more specific, white people started using this expression, woke, I hadn't heard anybody use it for a long time. Like I'm not saying that people never said it, but it's kind of escaped a little bit of the vernacular.
I'm trying to think, like, when I know I heard it when it was starting to be used as a weapon, I automatically knew what it meant. But you're right, I can't remember ever using it before, when it was used, would it date me? Now, if you say it, you're talking current crazy US politics. But that's an interesting thing, dude. So Black people just knew what woke meant. You woke. Woke meant that to me also, woke meant you weren't getting duped, kind of.
Yeah, I mean it I don't think I ever
getting fooled. You weren't getting
yeah,
duped.
to be
They
fooled
weren't pulling the
or
wool over your eyes, as they say.
be aware, don't fall for, any nonsense or whatever, just stay woke. I don't think I ever had to have anyone explain it to me, but on numerous occasions when they've asked these politicians, what does woke mean exactly? They can never say what it is because they don't have any idea. It's just something that they say. And I swear, other than maybe some kind of a, Black Israelite, nobody has said that in 20 years,
Well, you know what? Okay, so why has the attack on woke, why is that featured so prominently in Project 2025? And is there a chapter on that in Project 2020? Because I heard today or yesterday that 35% of Project 2025 has been implemented.
Yeah, that's what I think. I don't recall. Um,
There's a tracker for that, as a matter of fact. I'll see if I can find it. The Project 2025 tracker somebody had done so we could see. That was one of the things that I dropped for the sake of my well-being, where I said I'm not going to be tracking that and expect not to have a nervous breakdown. I'll let that be somebody else's purview. And I
but
was happy to hear the 35%. I would have thought it was 50% by now. Scary, only 100 something days and they got 35% done.
yeah, I know. It is scary. It's very scary. But what I think, honestly, I think it's just like the way that they're using it is to imply like that things that have to do with Black people, or like it's to me, woke is like their way of saying the N word without actually having to say it, like we don't
Well,
like
it
all
has
this
been code
woke.
for that now. Well, it has been become code for that now. And that is
Not
something maybe it happens in every language that certain innocuous or, benign words can be used as weapon and turned into code for words that are no longer acceptable to be said outside of having a hood on,
I
like the white
but
one. And they're doing that again now, kind of with the baklavas when the ice people are coming, their backs are covering their face.
balaclavas.
Balaclava. What's a baklava? I was in Greece
It's
recently.
a pastry in Greece.
Yeah, it's really sweet with pistachio.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
very
a
good,
ball.
but don't wear it on your face.
No, that would be good. And when I take a bite, it gets me right there behind my
Mm,
ear, like that. I can only take a bite. But somebody there told me it's really good with vanilla ice cream. I never had that. Like you're supposed to have it with the ice supposed to go
yeah,
together. I didn't
you
know that.
can. It's one of my favorite desserts.
You probably make a good one, Tin, on you.
I know I don't make them. There's too many people in this town that I live in that are making them. So, but
Okay, good for you.
I've seen how they make them, and it looks like it would be kind of hard to make it if you're not used to making it.
Well, I would cheat and get the pre-made phyllo dough because I think phyllo's a part of it. But
Yeah,
we digress.
I
What is
know.
it called? It's not the dessert on your face, but what are the ice people
a
wearing?
a balaclava.
They might as well be having a hood on.
Yeah,
But
well, they might as
so wait
well.
a
I mean,
second. Now you said some people actually put anti-woke language into legislation in your voting state. So that's
yeah.
that's what does that read like? Do you have it handy?
So
'Cause-
the whole idea of this, um, what was this? It's called in Florida, it's called the Stop Woke Act. And it basically it levies severe penalties, including firing educators and pulling state funding from educational institutions for violations of the intentionally vague yet broad speech and viewpoint limitations. The idea is to brutally chill conversations about racism, gender equality, inequality, LGBTQ people, and uh, tries to prohibit phrases like systematic racism and explaining how discrimination is perpetuated and understanding the impact of inequality on people's everyday lives.
This is
This
written in
is
the bill.
Yes, I mean this is based that's no that's the explanation of it. The
Okay.
words it's I have not read the exact words, but it's basically to stop anybody talking about anything that isn't like the founding fathers, you know. It's a little bit extreme. So you can't even really talk about Black history in
No, it sounds so crazy because it was like you can't talk about history, period, or
no.
it's just one version of
Well,
history.
the governor of Florida, oh my God, what a terrible little man he is. Um, he
They love him down
he's
there, though. Y'all can't get rid of him, it seems.
Well, yeah, well, this is his last term. I just wonder what fresh hell will come next. But he he is very obsessed with like making sure that no one mentions anything about Black people. And except he did say that he thought slavery was good because Black people got training. They got they learned skills. And I'm just like,
Ooh.
yeah, I know that's like, could you be more racist?
Ooh, because
Could
we
you?
got
Yeah, we got some skills,
skills.
like as if somehow there was no other way to obtain skills.
Ooh, that's rich. This is like right on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I mean it's well, um, the governor of Florida is kind of a joke. Um, but all these
Wow.
people that are using the word woke, I find it weird that all of a sudden that this word is making a resurgence, but it's with white people and they think of it as something bad. It's like,
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I don't know if we really care if we really did it, but I see you laid it down for me. Social justice, yeah, became associated with movements like Black Lives Matter. It originated in our community, basically like stay woke, signify a state of awareness and vigilance. Because haven't we always had to be aware and vigilant in our community
yes. I
from the
mean,
very beginning?
stay woke means a lot of things. And it's not just, something about social justice, I mean, as a person who grew up in a mostly Black neighborhood, you have to watch out for a lot of things. Watch out for the
Yeah,
cops,
you watch
watch
out.
out for,
Yeah.
people doing stuff like, like stay
Listen,
woke. It's
women have to stay woke, vigilant. You go out, somebody will put something in your drink,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
You can't stay
exactly.
woke, getting in the taxi, getting in the Uber. Is it a real Uber? Stay woke, be vigilant. We just always have to be aware of our surroundings and what's going on. So yeah,
Yes,
so it's used as a derogatory term against progressive activism. So let's talk about that because it seems to me that the anti-woke movement is just basically an anti-progressive movement. So did
yes.
we go too far? What is progressive, and why wouldn't anybody want to be progressive?
Did we
I
go
think
too
some
far?
progress. Well, I think personally some progressives they got on my nerves. Many in 2016 because they use it against other Democrats like weapons. And I know I had white people coming at me, older people, and I was like, "Don't you dare try to tell me how progressive I am, knowing my history and everything." I was like, "What?" I was like, "We moved all y'all people over to the left. If you weren't John Brown, we moved all y'all motherfucking white people over to the. I hate white liberals.
Well,
I hate white progressive liberals. They shit on you every time. There's never 100%, but the ones that I happen to work with shit on me every chance I get. They take up too much space. They always say that whatever, and they don't. And I can give first and last names, voting states, and countries of residence. The
you
white
don't have to do
liberals.
that.
But I'm
You
just
don't have to do
saying,
that.
that's not all of them. I work with a lot, but the ones that I work with and do the work aren't running around saying I'm a progressive liberal, right? They're running around doing the work. The ones that are running around talking about I'm a progressive liberal are the ones that happen to enjoy shitting on me. So I
Well,
don't like progressive that use it they use it like a weapon against the people who push them over to that
well,
position. Oh,
I understand what you're saying. I consider myself a progressive, but I'm just not as like fanatical about, so a lot of things as other people are. I mean, I should say I'm not outwardly fanatical about it. I'm internally fanatical about things like we need progress and we need to move on from this madness that we're in. And I think that we haven't been progressive enough and we haven't been forward thinking enough because I think that this is one reason why we have Donald Trump. It's not it's not because of the progressivism. It's because we didn't actually go far enough to make things better
the
for
way I feel
average
about
people.
it. Yeah, the way I feel about it, I mean, nobody was talking about being progressive as in a loud manner until Bernie Sanders flipped things upside down. I never heard, I mean, progressive politics, nobody identified I'm a progressive. Um, Progressive against conservative, it was like, okay, no big deal, you're one or the other. I could never understand conservatives. What are you trying to conserve? But to say it's progressive or nothing. And of course, we haven't gone far enough. I mean, the amendments we had to the Constitution, those were progressive things that Black people pushed forward. We are
Yeah.
radical. We are radical progressives. We die on the line of for progressive issues. We've done that. Whether it was Freedom for America, Christmas Actis was the first person to die in the American Revolution, and he was a black man. To dying for the vote for right to dying for women's right to vote. We were out there voting for women's rights to vote, progressive, when we knew we couldn't vote. What were white women doing for us? That's a different story. Maybe I just have a chip on my shoulder within today, but
Maybe a
of
little.
course, we haven't gone far enough,
No,
right?
we haven't gone far
The
enough.
voting rights action, it never had to be an act. It was a bold move in '65, and it could go far enough, make it a law immediately. Ugh, we never go far enough, as far as social justice until everyone is treated equally.
Yes, and there's
But
really a
running
lot of
around saying
people
I'm
that
a
aren't.
progressive, yeah, but running around saying I'm a progressive isn't going to do it. Be more like
Well,
AOC or Jasmine and get out there and do the work. They're not run. Jasmine isn't running around saying I'm a progressive politician. She's calling Republicans out for the fools that they
yeah.
are.
Well, that's true. I just think that I just want to just give a little bit of history about this progressive era that we had in the United States, because it was really from the 1890s to the 1920s, and there were really a lot of problems in the United States then. I honestly, um, it feels like we're kind of back there a little bit in that time when you had the what do they call that, the this era where everybody had, all the rich people had so much money, and
The Gilded Age.
the Gilded Age. Yeah, the Gilded Age. um
Wilson was president that
yes, a
time.
couple of, yeah, but even before that.
Mhm.
So in the past, I don't know, within the past, let's say a couple of years, I I read I like to read old books. Let me just preface that. I like to read
Mhm.
books that were written like in the 1900s or the, early 20th century. And
Mhm.
it's because it gives me like an idea about, where what the country was like, and I like history. So
Mhm.
I read this book. It was by, oh my gosh, let me just find the title. Talk for a little bit while I find the title of this book.
Okay. So this is
Um,
because it's interesting that you're talking about this because I saw a clip from Joy Reid, and I believe this is post MSNBC, where she talks about, and I think is his name Teal, the guy that founded PayPal or whatever? Is it Teal or
that's one of the
something?
people. Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to go back to this time of the, like you say, the Gilded Age when corporations didn't pay tax, where if you didn't have money, you didn't have health care. There was no social security, no safety net. It was like a period like industrialization when people made great wealthy billionaires. But he wants to go back to a billionaire class like that, where the disparity that we have now is even more great, and that they basically run the country.
Yeah. So, okay, the book that I read, I'm going to say it was really in um, the past, maybe I read it last year, but it's The Jungle, by Upton
Hmm.
St. Clair. And
Yeah, I
so
know that book.
this book is basically, it's about immigrants who come to the United States. They came from somewhere in Eastern Europe, and it's like a family. They sold everything and they came to the United States, and they went to Chicago to work in the meatpacking industry. And it kind of delineates like how bad the meatpacking industry was, how badly they
Yeah, this is
treated
a
their
classic.
employees. Yeah,
We read
it's
this in
yeah.
school.
Yeah, I know.
Makes you
I
it
sometimes
makes you want to be a vegetarian after that.
well, oh yeah, because it's pretty gross, all the things that they want to do, that
Mm,
they do with the meat, and how they like
mm.
pretend they do things to hide the fact that meat is spoiled, and it's pretty
Yeah,
gross.
it
And
makes you
and
want to be a
this book was so it was a very important book at the time, and it basically helped get regulations on how meat was treated, how people in these
vegetarian.
packing houses were treated.
Because this
Um,
is before labor laws and things like
yeah,
that, right?
yeah, it was
No unions.
no unions, just abuse. There's one woman in the book who gets she's sexually harassed by her boss and told
Mm.
if she doesn't sleep with him, then he's going to fire her whole family from working at this
Yep.
plant.
Yep.
Um, and it's just a lot of the situations that we have today are in this book.
Mm.
And I feel like we're sliding backwards. And so this was in the part of the progressive era where people were advocating for social change and for laws and regulations that the Trump administration is desperately, and the Republican Party have been desperately trying to get rid of, because I don't know why. So what if you could poison the meat, sell poisoned meat to people?
Mm.
Like, what if you could? Like,
Well,
why
that's
would you
what's
want to?
probably happening now, though, because didn't they take away like the safeguards for that?
Sort of, not completely though, but
Almost, but yeah.
almost. But we're this is the thing about the progressive era, is that's why that's why people started calling themselves again progressives. Um,
Mm.
because of this, as like a callback to this era where we got all these laws and there was a lot more social justice and unions and whatever else. Um, but there's nothing wrong with social justice. I
Mm-mm.
I find it incredibly difficult to imagine, one, why people want to use like ethnic slurs and, other unsuitable language, about people. Why is it so important? I've never understood this, calling people the F word or the R word or the N word. Like, what are you doing? Why do you want to say this stuff? That's hard for me, but a lot of people are excited about it. But the thing is that I've never had a white person call me the N word. I I'm not sure what would
I
happen.
haven't. I've had someone tell me that one of my colleagues uses that word, but that she never called me that.
Well, I don't know, but I'm not sure
And
what
I
would
was shocked
happen
by that. Well, I quit
if
and I was shocked by that. I didn't
yeah,
just
it's
quit by
terrible.
that, but yeah, she
Yeah.
was just rude and mean to me anyway. And I told the manager, and the manager was like, "You should be used to it." And I was like, "You know what? I feel sick." And I quit. And my
Oh
husband was
my
like,
God.
"Why'd
Yeah,
you
that's the
quit?"
other thing. I don't think we talked about this little kid who was called the N-word by some white woman in a park or some shit like that. Did you? And
Mm-mm, what happened?
yeah, it's this. I don't know exactly how it all got started, but she did this, and then people were like negative towards her, and then she started to go fund me or something like this, and raised
Oh yeah, and I
almost a
think she
half a
raised a
million.
bunch of. Yeah, I
Yeah,
did think I heard about that, which
yeah,
is
this is
crazy.
absolutely insane. But I saw her in an interview, and she was like, "Oh, I use this word all the time," and I'm just thinking, what is wrong with you? Why? Why? What do you
And
think
what
it's
does she
getting
need the
you?
money for?
I guess because people were mean to her. I don't know. I
And
mean,
people are
seriously.
supporting her by the use of the, yeah, let's free the N word. It's probably a campaign. Free the N word.
Yeah, I don't understand why people want to do this kind of stuff.
Well, I
Um,
do, just because it's not unique to Americans. It's human nature, and it's as old as man. So we need a psychiatrist or a psychologist to be able, but it's nothing, it's as old as
I guess I don't
it
know, but
is. I
but
mean, if you want to go back, I mean, we know time before the Bible. If the Bible's historical, they threw stones at people and called them whores and this, that, and and Jesus is like, let him without the first stone sin throw the first stone, and of course nobody could throw the stone.
yeah,
But we
but
love
let's
to
not
do
even
that to other
let's
people.
not even get into Christianity, because I'm gonna tell you what, all these people, they're not Christian. They don't know
No,
anything
we
about
know that.
Christianity. They're
So
not at all.
maybe we should
Oh,
talk about Christianity because they
well,
don't know what
wait.
it is.
Let's
But you're
just switch
right.
for 1 second to our Black
Yeah.
Pope for 1 minute.
Oh yeah. You know what? I'm not hopping all over that because I think if they figure that out, they'll cancel him somehow. They'll take the vote back. Like if they really knew they were bringing a black
They
pope, but
can't
I'm
do
like,
that. It's not doesn't work that way. It's not like being elected to president
let's
or
see
something.
how. Well, you know what? Who knows? But because the Catholic Church is weird. But
Well,
He survived Vance, so maybe he
The,
is a black man.
the Catholic Church is different than what we're used to. Not weird.
No, it's Catholic school. I can call it weird, but I love some of the rituals. Weird to me isn't a bad thing. I want to be considered weird. I don't use weird in a negative
Well, that's
sense. I
true.
definitely don't want to be
I
run of the
don't.
mill. You're freaking weird. You know what? I don't want to be run of the mill. Weird is not
Thank
a
you.
bad thing.
It's
You know
good to
what I mean?
know.
But
I'm glad you noticed.
yeah, we're not doing normal run of the mill over here.
Um,
No, but I know what
but
you mean. I don't mean it in a negative way, but I should say special with their rituals. But I mean, I'm going to say he passed the black man test by surviving a visit with JD Vance.
well, yeah, but no, I saw something
You
about
can't
his
kill us, JD.
ancestry,
Yeah, Creole,
and
Louisiana, whatever,
yeah,
supposedly.
so but Creole is just another way of saying black.
Actually, well,
So it's
yeah. Actually, if you see the pictures of his two brothers, he looks like anybody's cousin.
yeah,
If
I
those
mean,
are really pictures of his brothers that he's with.
if you see the picture of him, he looks black. That's
It
I
looks like my father-in-law, but if you see him with his brothers, it really looks like he's the one that if anybody was passing, Leo was the one that was passing because his brothers couldn't even try to pass. If that was a
yeah,
real picture with him with his two brothers.
yeah.
Um,
So I think it's great. I mean, it's awesome that I think it's awesome. I'm not Catholic. I did go to a Catholic university though, but I'm not Catholic.
no, I think it's great, but for some reason, I'm not harping on that because I don't want to mess it up for him. But I do
Okay.
know that
Well,
I don't
that's
want to mess it
okay.
up for her, but I do know that I wept and was so glad that that process happened quickly and that his first messages was like peace for the world, you know, and I just cried and thought about, you know, peace in Sudan. Nobody's talking about that. You know, of course,
But
peace in Gaza, peace in Ukraine, but I just wept because I just thought, great, you know, we need this moral compass. You know, we needed to be bold. We needed to be strong. We needed to be able to
yes,
look at Trump and be like, "You're a fool.
yes,
You're a fool. You're a
yes,
fool."
exactly. And Pope Leo the 14th is definitely woke for
He
sure.
is, and he's a brother, but I don't want to mess it up for him, so I'm gonna
Okay, so we
downplay that.
won't say it too much. Like, okay, woke black Pope, but it's awesome.
Oh my God, whoa, back Pope. Okay, we gotta fan dance to that. We're gonna
I
fan dance
know.
before this is over. But yeah, so that was good news. Okay, that's gonna be we're gonna talk about next week too in our end of the month roundup. But yeah, thanks for that's a highlight of
Yeah,
bringing
it
that
is.
in.
It is. I'm not a follower of the Pope, but or before I wasn't, but now I might have to be,
Well,
just to
look,
see.
and here's the thing, and I hope I wasn't me, but somebody in one of my groups, I don't know if people listen to this or not, who listens, but there was some, you know, because a lot of the jokes are going around like, okay, yeah, he's going to have to file taxes, like he's a UOCAVA voter, and you know, he's voted from overseas and blah blah blah. Now that he's going to earn a salary or whatever, maybe he never filed taxes anyway. You know, if you're an American living
Hmm.
overseas, you should file. Doesn't mean you have to tax pay. I don't know if they said he hadn't filed or paid, but he may be in some new thing. And somebody was like, "Oh, I hope he brings attention to this for American voters for FACTA." I said, "I hope he does with more pressing problems."
Yeah, I know. That's
Like
not the
more
most pressing
freaking peace.
problem.
I know. It's like they
Oh,
weren't joking.
the world is coming to an end, and you're like, oh, I'm worried
They
about my taxes
and they
now.
were not joking. You know what I mean? And I was like,
I
"Oh,"
know,
and they
I
they
know.
they didn't say
I'm
anything
used
else.
to
But I
both
thought,
too. But
but I was
yeah,
like, you
we
know
have
what?
to.
I don't know what tax category you're in. Maybe that is like something you want the
I
Holy
don't
See
know.
to
Does the Pope
take
get
care of.
paid?
I think they say he does now or something. And but you know, when he was a cardinal before, the cardinals get paid. I don't know. I do know he had voting records. I don't know about his tax records, but I don't know. But again, because he's an American living abroad,
Yep,
people are running with it, you know, and saying, "What does
I
this
know.
mean?"
Yeah, it's
He's like,
great.
he's one of us. Yeah, he's one of us.
Yes, he's definitely one of us in more than one way. I'm
My man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, exactly. We have to make sure we find DA Italy and make sure that they're on the case. Like maybe go down and get the Pope to,
they are.
bless
They are.
or
They
something.
are. They
But
are. And I
yeah,
think
our Pope is woke, and it's not. It's only controversial when Republican politicians say it. Um, because first of all, as I said, I can't say this enough. I haven't heard anybody that was not white say this in I don't know how many decades. That was like something that people said in the 80s and the 90s, or maybe before that, like stay woke. Like,
Now that I think about it, it's probably in some movies like that I didn't see, like Friday and some of those other movies that like I know about but I didn't
ever seen
see.
Friday?
Well, who would pay for that at the movie theater? But I'm sure I've seen it on the TV. Like I'm
Okay.
not
I
one of
was
the
like,
people. No, I'm not one of the people that go to the movies a lot anyway, to the movie theater a lot anyway. But love the soundtrack. It's like I know a lot of movies and all the cultural references and never saw the movie because it's like I don't have to see the movie. I know all the soundtrack, the cultural references. People talk about it. You see the clips, and then maybe I was catching on the plane, but they don't show stuff like Friday on the plane when you're traveling
well,
overseas.
you travel way more than I do. So,
Well, I catch up on a lot of movies that way that I was like, I would have never seen this in the theater, and I'm like, okay. But
and
like
even,
E.T., I never saw E.T., but I know everything about it.
oh my God, woman.
I'll be
I,
right
I
there.
never, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Phone home. Um, you're, I
The
don't know.
bicycles.
You're actually worse with these things than I am. At least I've seen some of them.
I
Um,
saw. Who
the,
needs to see E.T. though when you know it all? Name some other movies, and I probably
did you
see
see The
them.
Matrix?
Yeah, probably not all five, but of
Okay,
course.
well,
But then by the time Jada Pinkett came in, I saw that one too. But Lawrence Fishburne, I'm down for anything he does. Since
yeah.
Sesame Street or whatever, when he was like a little kid on All My Children or whatever, he was in the soap opera. I'm with Lawrence Fishburne for the
Yeah. I don't know.
culture. Him in the
I'm not,
part.
I'm not, I don't know. I watch the type of movies that I watch are not, I don't know. I like action movies. I like kind of
I like action movies
monster
too,
movies.
sci-fi. I hate scary
Yeah.
movies. I like
No,
sci-fi.
I
I
like
like
some scary
thrillers.
movies.
I like action. I like Harry Potter. I never got into Lord of the whatever or the
Oh, Lord of the Rings.
Game
Oh
of.
my God.
But you
Okay,
can't
we are
do all
really
three.
deviating. Well, okay, I have
Okay.
seen all of them, but I
Listen, there's black person in Star Wars. I know you like Star Wars. I don't think there's any black
there's
people. There wasn't Harry Potter, but
there's
was it black
there's
people in
tons
Lord of
of
the
black
Rings?
people in Star Wars. I
Lord of
don't
the Rings.
remember. I have blocked out Lord of the Rings, so it was
Okay, back
three
on
long
track.
movies. Yeah, three
Well, I
very
just
long
remember the guy
movies.
with the big eyes and like the little goblin. I was like, I'm already watching Harry Potter. I can't get in that too. How much of that
Okay,
world?
okay, we're deviating a lot from our topic, but that's okay because um
Let me bring it back around.
yeah,
And this might still be irrelevant, but since we're talking about sci-fi and futuristic, Afro-futuristic, we need to do another thing about that. Is definitely something. But Octavia Butler,
mm,
I wonder what she
yeah,
would be saying because a lot of her, well, her books were like in the present and the future. But if
yeah,
we had the
we
powers and stuff that she says we have, are we not harnessing our powers?
we are not harnessing our power. And also the other thing, we just the beginning of the month, the Black Caucus, the Women's Caucus, and the Environmental Council, the one that Dana Freeling, who was just on, leads, we did a book club with the Parable of the Sower.
One
Um,
of my all-time favorites.
yeah, yeah, both of those books. And you know that she started writing a third book. Um, and I'm hoping that
When
somebody
she
will
fell
finish
and
it.
died,
Yeah,
what a
yeah,
freak
then she,
accident she had.
yeah,
Like on her steps in front of her house or something. Fell, hit her head, never recovered. Falls are so
yeah,
scary. People do balance exercises. One tip, when you're brushing your teeth, stand on one foot
yes,
and
exactly.
alternate that. Just balance. You never know when you're going to fall. We lost a brilliant mind in Octavia Butler, which is a freak accident. Nothing wrong with her otherwise. Wasn't
Yeah,
sick or
yeah.
anything. But I know she was working on the third work. So she would be considered woke because she envisioned the future
Well, Jesus
where
Christ,
black people were ruled.
every person would be considered woke compared to some of these. I don't
Hey,
know, just
Big
sort of.
Bird is woke even.
Yeah,
Now,
Big
weren't
Bird
they
is woke.
attacking NPR and
Yeah,
public
they did.
TV? And
Sesame Street. They attack Sesame Street. That's like a
Big Bird is
constant.
woke.
Yeah, Big Bird is woke. Everyone is woke except for the sort of lame people that um seem to be Republicans. I think that the whole idea of woke is a little bit overblown, and that they make more out of it just because the thing is that the reason they make such a big deal out of it is because other people want rights, and they don't want anyone to have any rights. And so in general, we should just ignore them. I don't think I've seen a lot of things that have said, "Oh, as Democrats, we have to like stop this woke whatever." And it's just like, no, actually we don't. We need to continue, because what woke is just telling us is that there are still problems in our society, newsflash, and that we need to be alert and stay cognizant of that fact, and always continue to work for social justice, because the people, the United States is not a country that we're made up of people. We're not made up of products or businesses, even though those are part features of our country. And if we don't care about the people, then what are we doing? What is our purpose?
Well, we know we're in a constitutional crisis.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's sad because the preamble to our constitution says promote the general welfare, right? We the people, we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, in mm, something justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and I'm singing it in my head. I can't remember, but it says in the freaking preamble to the Constitution, provide for the general welfare.
Yes,
That's
that's
open
right.
to interpretation what that means, but it does not mean custom Medicare, Social Security, um, aid programs like SNAP. It doesn't mean keeping it. It means raising children out of poverty,
Yeah,
like the
for
child
sure.
credit did. That's what provide
Yes.
for the general welfare means. And if you're one of the wealthiest nations in the world, I don't know if we can toot that horn. And what's the point of having that accolade if so many of your people are poor,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So
Or poorly educated. I think that actually what I would really like everyone to do right at this moment, I mean, you can do it a little bit later, but just go Google the Declaration of Independence. I think this is a last year our DA Comms had a initiative where they had a bunch of people read the Declaration of Independence, and then they cut it, spliced it all together, and yeah, and I was one of those people who read parts of it. And it just occurred to me, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, that if you read the Declaration of Independence, it's very short. I would just go
why don't you
read it.
play it now? Find the clip and play it now.
Well, okay, I will try to find the clip, but the thing is, for me, is that we're in the same situation that we were in 1776. Um, that the exact same thing is happening, and we should people should be alert to this for real. Um, because
I'm
we're
not
we're
a
in a lot of trouble.
historian. We're in a lot of trouble. I'm not a historian, but I know, okay, if this document goes back to 1776, what is that, 300? What are we having the anniversary this year or next year or something? 300 years, I think it is. I remember the bicentennial, it can't be 300 years, like 300 years of something. Because I remember the
Uh,
bicentennial. So the bicentennial was 1976, because I can remember my Uncle Brian. You said he had some bicentennial boots. So that was 1976. And those are the short boots, kind of round, square toe. They
Okay.
used to wear like patent leather, pleather, side zip, square toe. Anyway, he had some bicentennial. So that was 1776.
Yeah. So
1976 was the bicentennial. So something's coming up.
um
Excuse me.
yeah, it's our 250th anniversary. Our
That's what it is.
it's next year.
Next year.
It's
That's right. It is
next year.
6 year.
It's next year. So
So
let me play this Declaration of Independence. Um and I well, while you're giving me permission to share, I will and I would still suggest that even if you hear this, I think that people should read it because it's a very powerful document. And I know our founding fathers had a lot of problems, but what they wrote, um, what they wrote were things that actually really apply to what's going on now. So here we go.
When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another,
and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature entitle them.
A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation.
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men, women, and people are created equal,
that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among people, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed.
That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, that it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government,
laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
We, representatives of the United States of America, do, in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies,
solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right, ought to be free and independent states.
So,
good initiative. Yeah.
but we're here. We're here again.
Oh, this is what I wanted to say. I'm not a historian. I don't know. But if we're celebrating 250 years of something next year, what a young country. Don't know how old Germany is, how many freaking reincarnations and stuff. I know Sweden. They don't even know how old Sweden is. Really, when did Sweden really become Sweden and this, that, and the other? 250 years is so young. So young. My little time on the timeline, maybe I'm not supposed to witness America be this great. Thank God I wasn't on it in the very formation. Thank God I wasn't already a native there and be like, what's happening to my country, seeing the ships coming. So I'm grateful for my time on the timeline where I could march as a Howard University student at the 20th anniversary of the March on Washington. You know, that famous I Have a Dream march. You know, that was a great time. I wasn't getting beat, you know, on the Pettus Bridge, but, you know, we haven't come far enough that I'm not going to get George Floyd, and his anniversary is coming up.
Yep.
This summer. So 250 years is not a long time. So it's very much important that we prod the country to grow up and do okay, do better.
Yeah.
Nothing is written in stone but see, this is what's so dangerous. Until we burn up that document, you know, that you all just recited in the Constitution, we don't stand for anything. So we're in that constitutional crisis now. So this is our time to see, do we believe in that piece of paper that those slave owners and criminals and rich white men wrote? Because that's exactly who they were. Wasn't a fucking poor person in the room, but we letting them speak for us and be the beacon for the light because they were the enlightened ones and had these ideals. And we're making that document stretch. So we just have to keep stretching it. But this country is just trying to contract back to what's originally supposed to be for rich white men And I get that. It's only
but
250
but
years.
but the thing is that, you know, you can't put all of our founding fathers in a box, like that they all had the same beliefs as far as like slavery, and a lot of them didn't think slavery was a good idea.
I just said there wasn't a poor person in the room. It was a
Well,
mix of
no,
criminals,
no,
mix of criminals, because the Brits called them criminals. Half John Hancock was a
no,
criminal. A lot of them, they were bootlegging, importing, evading taxes, right? We put people
no,
in jail
yeah.
now, unless you're Trump, for evading taxes. They got Marcus Garvey on some trumped up um, tax evasion charge. I think they might have got Al Capone on something like that.
Yeah,
But
well, it wasn't trumped up. It was real for Al Capone.
well,
But
trumped up or not, Trump in that, whatever, they take down who they want to take down, but
that's right.
so there was no criminals, slave owners, um, all rich, not a poor person in the room. All of them privileged to some extent, different morals for sure. None of them bold enough to go as far as we would like, but maybe they were really pushing the bar back then in that age of enlightenment or whatever. Um, Influenced by France, you know, a lot of things going on, definitely influenced by Europe. These were just a generation or two away from being born in Europe. So they're definitely European focused. So not necessarily, none of them, very few. I've been to the museums and seen enough. Very few and not enough of influence and power had any regard for the natives that were living there. We know what they thought about women. So my point is like we got this precious document by these limited people, the people that we're like, and we're can't be surprised if we're contracting back to that. But the scary part is like we want to take that and expand it so far. It's a miracle we've done is what we've done in 250 years, I think. That's not that far. My grandfather's grandmother was a slave. We're not that far away. So it's remarkable what we've done. 250 years is nothing. Nothing. And it'll take at
But
least 250 years to reverse some of like, just give me what I should have gotten the Homestead Act. And then give me, 150 years to try to catch up. And then, maybe it's so far. But that's why I look at other countries as inspiration or to be depressed.
no,
Because the countries now that we consider so sophisticated are fighting very hard not to slip back into fascist ways or control. Every time there's an election in Europe and the right doesn't win, it's like a collective sigh of relief.
yes, I agree. It
Because it's like,
definitely
who?
is.
And to
But
think
we're
it
not
was,
going to
yeah,
slip back.
I don't care if we do, because like progress, two
I
steps
do.
forward. Well,
No, I
nothing's
don't want to slip
linear.
back.
Yeah, but
But
I know progress isn't linear.
it's not linear, but I think every person needs to decide for themselves. I mean, and I don't mean they need to decide, do you want to live in a world where all humans are availed of human rights? Or do you want to live in a world where only certain people, only special people, and guess what? You're not one of those special people, like for real, have rights. I I think I think that it's time for people, not just Americans, but to just get it into their head that they believe in human rights for everyone. And
And that's good. And I think that the sad thing about that at the same time is most people right now in Europe, I can't say most, a lot, are worried about the essentials, getting gas in the car, food on the table. Okay, the hot parts of Europe, how those electricity is going to be. The cold parts, okay, we got through the winter. Bill, they're not, especially, and I mean, Sweden is a very welfare oriented state, but there's food insecurity. People are in so much debt here. There's so much insecurity in general. People can't afford to lose their job here. Even if you're going to get a nice severance package, um,
People
people
can't
are
afford to lose their
thinking,
jobs anywhere.
yes, but it didn't used to be like that. Like people weren't afraid of losing their jobs necessarily in Sweden because you had job security. But now you look on the news, Swedes are in so much debt. Something could happen. One of Jonas's colleagues got retired out of his job, but he was maybe a year before retiring, but he had some unemployment insurance. I'm
Mm.
like, I didn't know. They carried him through, and then he was like, plus he's like, and I don't ever have to go back to work. So even in a society where supposedly job security is stable in Sweden, not necessarily, and a lot of businesses did, service-oriented business did suffer under the pandemic, even though nothing closed. People just chose not to go, and they would line up outside the liquor store. But hearing that Swedes are so much in debt, because that's one of the big problems with Americans, so much debt. And you miss a credit card payment or whatever. Now in Europe, they don't have those. And this is another protection that the administration took away. What is it? Like, what was that agency, consumer,
Oh,
whatever,
the
that looked out for
Consumer
you?
Protection Agency. Yeah.
And one thing that the Biden government was doing was those, what do they call them? Extra fees, like credit card fees or
Oh,
bank
yeah.
fees.
Getting rid of those credit card fees, making those illegal, which I think under Trump they came right back.
Oh, they came right back, baby. Probably bigger and better, big, beautiful, better. But you can't do that in Sweden. But I'm scared to see that Swedes are so much in debt because that's never good. And then you're depending on the interest rate. And um, I say all that to say, I don't think enough people are thinking outside of their household to
Yeah,
think, oh,
but
I want everyone to have equal rights. They're like, I want Johnny
but
to go to summer camp.
But that's what I'm saying is that we have to think this way. We can no longer just think about ourselves. It's this is how these right-wing fanatics get you. Like, oh, you have some problems. Like all these people that allegedly, I don't really believe them, voted because grocery prices were high and Trump said that he was going to lower the prices of this and that, which none of that has happened, by the way. But I just think that not that people should be overpaying for things, because that's not what I think, but I think that what is more important to you, that people have human rights or that you have low cost groceries? It doesn't have to be an either or. It
And it
doesn't have
never
to be either
has.
or.
It never has. And there have always been people who care and who don't. And in times of financial crises and other crises, that number shrinks from the people who do care. But they always, just like the Black faith leaders, Hope being one of them, right? No, but just like the Black faith leaders, you know, they're out there saying, okay, you need to care and don't go to Target. We spend money, but don't go to Target because they're not treating our people right. We're not doing things. And enough, not surprised, but it's pleasant to see how the Black community is responding with our dollars. That's a big step. If you can get them to hold the purses. Okay, I don't know if this is related, but I hope people are paying attention. In Pennsylvania, they're shutting down hospitals.
Yeah.
Has that come up on your radar? And I know that in Chester, Pennsylvania, for example, which is very Black, they shut down the only hospital, or like the last hospital, around for 30 miles. So is that the type of thing that's going to make people care? Oh,
I
you
don't
know what
know.
story? Yeah, it wasn't yeah, because who's the governor we like in Pennsylvania? People were like, he should run for president. We like him. Um,
Shapiro.
Shapiro had just left because nurses and doctors were protesting at this last hospital they were gonna shut down. And they said, so the TV cameras and stuff weren't there at that point, but they were still out there protesting, and somebody drove up with a child that needed immediate help. And some of the people ran off the picket line and saved the child. But if that protest had been over, that would have been the first fatality. So I hear people saying, but I don't think it's exaggeration to say this government. Is that a Trump thing, a state thing? Shapiro's the governor. Why is it
It's
happening? But resources for a lot of people are drying up under this
it's
administration. I don't know if the state got funds cut off somewhere, but
well,
we
yeah, he's
know
been cutting off a lot of funds of this and that.
Because people are saying children are literally dying who aren't getting aid. Um,
Yes. Yes,
what
they
are
are.
happening to what are happening to our farmers who aren't getting paid for those crops
Yeah,
anymore?
well, they're losing their farms. I mean, it's so let's just bring this back full circle on woke. Woke means you pay attention to what's going on. It doesn't mean and that and that people need to care about racial justice, gender equality, LGBTQ rights, and the environment. Because if you don't, look at what happened to those people in Kentucky. They had a they had a tornado and they had no warning. They had no warning because Trump
No.
cut the NOAA and they had no one there to tell them that to give out to turn on the sirens or send out the message that a tornado was coming. And a whole lot of people got killed and a lot of
Is
people's homes
Kentucky
were
a red
devastated.
state? I mean, because
Yine. They have Governor Bashir is a Democrat, but
because I wonder if blue state's getting punished. But if you cut off, can you do it state by state, or you're doing it across the whole federal agency? Then everybody gets screwed. No blue state should be screwed. No purple state. But I just wonder, do people realize that's life or death? I mean,
yes,
these cuts are they may you think, oh, it doesn't matter. Storm can hit anywhere. That's hey,
yes.
do we know what's going on? I saw somebody's video. Do we know what's going on with Ebola in Africa or bird flu in the States? No, because we're not getting those reports anymore.
Well, because they fired all those people. Because for some reason, and I don't understand, see, we've taken a unwoke position on knowing about what's going on. So if we don't know the weather, I'm sure nothing bad will happen. If we don't know if people are have bird flu or whatever, I'm sure it won't be a problem.
Okay,
It's
Angela,
woke.
are the recent air traffic controller outages at Newark, does that have anything to do with FAA cuts, or they haven't
Yes,
been any FAA cuts?
yes, they got rid of all the maintenance people and engineers.
So that's why the machines don't work.
Yes, because there's no one to
And
take care of them.
and a lot of flight controllers are taking traumatic
Yes, because
leave,
it
or
is
can you
it's
imagine?
traumatic. If your job is to keep the planes from crashing and then the shit just blows up like and stops working, that's traumatic. But this is what I'm saying. If you stay woke, then you understand what the importance of things are, what the significance are. So if you'll have to excuse my language. So fuck the dumb shit. Woke is okay. It's only not okay for people who live in a fantasy world, and that would be Republicans.
But I
They
mean,
live
isn't
in a
it?
fantasy world.
Yeah, and isn't it even as simple as like, if you take the opposite, woke, opposite is sleep. You can't sleep through life.
Well, that's what they want you to do, but you can't do it anyway. You can't do it anyway because things are going to happen and you might be a part of them and you have to protect your family and your friends
Well, Rip
from
Van
all of
Winkle didn't, and what happened to him? There's a moral in that story somewhere. I can't remember, but everybody,
I don't
Rip
know.
Van Winkle, he slept through everything. Some man that slept his whole life. There's got to be some more. He had family. How did he have children? I don't know. Maybe he started sleeping after the children came. But Google Rip Van Winkle. I think that's one of
Yeah.
those stories you hear as a child. There's got to be some moral to it. But yeah, we don't want to be asleep. You can't participate if you're not awake. And I know life can be heavier. You're like, oh, I'm just caught in this treadmill. It's not going to matter. My situation hasn't changed from the last two presidents. I'm still poor. I'm still working three jobs. I'm still living in an unsafe neighborhood. Um, sad to say, for some people, the situation may not have changed from government to government. I don't know what state you live in. Pay close attention to what's happening at the local level. They're your first line of defense. If you don't have a good
Yes.
school board, if you don't have a good police chief, right?
Or
If you don't have
mayor
a
or
mayor,
yeah, all these things. In fact, there's a lot of local elections going on this year. Let's just go But yeah, Rip Van Winkle, I know this story, but I didn't
Yeah, I
realize
can't remember.
that he fell asleep and wakes up 20 years later and the world is dramatically changed. He awakes to find that the American Revolution has occurred and he's no longer a subject of the British crown, but a citizen of the United States. And he has to adapt to the new way of life and deal with the consequences of his long sleep. So everybody wake up, get woke.
And you know what? If you're one of the people that slept through the 20, where are we?
2024 election.
2016 election,
Yeah.
because you didn't want to vote for Hillary and you thought Trump can't win. No way. And then if you slept through the midterms, or if you slept through, maybe you came back for Biden, and then you slept through 2024 because you just thought there's no way Trump could come back again, and you're waking up to Project 2025 being 30% implemented. We're not adjusting. We're trying our hardest not to adjust to this new reality. And we have been awake the whole time, warning people. So it's time to, oh gosh, okay, if you can find a clip, there's a clip of Robert De Niro getting a Palme d'Or for something at the Cannes Film Festival. I know it's an honor. And he uses his speech time to be politically active and talk about how arts are what's needed, how there's no DEI in creativity in the arts, and how I don't know if they're still standing. There was going to be 100% tariff on any movie made outside of the U.S.
Yeah,
Has
that's
that been
ridiculous.
okay? I don't know if that's still standing. Yeah, and how artists have to be brave and strong now. Same thing for our musicians and all of our artists. And he says that we have to protest. He's calling for protest.
Yes, we
Who else
have
have
to
we heard
protest.
for? Malcolm Nance told us to protest. People are protesting across the United States, across Europe, across the Americas. Um,
All over
and
the
I
world.
don't know about in Asia. Are they doing it in Asia? I
Yeah, in
think
some
people,
places where they can, not everywhere you can protest, but there
no,
are places where you can protest, and that's what people are doing. Just a reminder for everybody, it's a little bit early, but you should start now to plan to go to the No Kings protest on June 14th. They're all over the world. Just Google No Kings protest near me, and you should definitely find it on Indivisible or other websites, or just local groups. So everybody get out there and show your displeasure, because we are a government by and for the people, not for some old man who's using Ozempic. But we'll talk about that more on the next
I don't
time.
even know what a Ozempic is, but I've seen the commercial. But Angela, okay, go to votefromabroad.org. If you have not
Yep.
already, update your voter registration again. There may be some changes to how Americans from overseas can register to vote or whatever. Do that. I know New Jersey's having a governor race.
New Jersey, and so is Virginia, and a new one just came in. Um, Arizona, there's a federal election in Arizona this summer. The representative from Arizona, he died recently. It was a
Goodness.
Democratic
Okay.
seat. And so I think it's Arizona 7. So if you vote in Arizona, please go check it out to make sure that this isn't your district. I don't know Arizona well enough to tell you, where. I think it's the big counties, Maricopa, and those places like the larger Phoenix area. But yeah, everybody needs to vote. Everybody needs to stand up. And I just want to say, uh, don't stop being woke. For real though.
No, don't stop being woke. And one last thing I was going to say, what was it? Oh, DA resists. Don't we have a web subsection on our web
Yeah, just
page.
go to democratsabroad.org/resistance. And yeah, there's a lot of resources there for people who are interested in protesting. You'll find all the latest protests that are coming up, and participate.
Yeah, get your fans. Angela, it's time to fan dance. Get your fans. Take your fans with you out here in the street. So be ready if they break out in the fan dance. Should I play it or can you play it? And get your wear comfortable shoes, be hydrated, make sure you're with a safe group, have a buddy system, make sure the march you're participating in is a legitimately organized one and they have permits if that's necessary for where you'll be marching. Know your rights. It's just, common sense, you'll be fine. But take your fans. I'm inviting people to take their fans. I'm gonna see my people out there fan dancing. It's gonna be hot this summer. We got the anniversary of George Floyd coming up. I don't know if anything may happen around that, but we have our fans. We need to keep cool. We got so much work to do.
We
I
do
said I
have a lot
wasn't
of
gonna
work
do
to do.
nothing.
Did you say that for real though? Like that you weren't
Yeah.
going to do anything? Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
Well,
absolutely, because yeah, it's enough work to go around and enough people to do the work. So if I think about relative, and then you balance that with your mental health, your physical health, your family obligations, all kinds of other things. But that didn't last that long.
Yeah.
But
I was about to say.
absolutely, I'm not doing as much as I have been in the past, and that's fine because more other people are doing things that hadn't been done in the past. So that's good.
Yeah, I agree, but everybody just let's close out, and I think that the best thing to do is for people to just stand up and take a stand. Take a stand for human rights, take a stand for the dreaded diversity, inclusion, and whatever the other one is.
Equity.
Equity, yeah. Take a stand.
Equity, that's a hard word for Americans to process. Equity.
Yeah, well, there's no equity as long as we have a bunch of billionaires running everything. But anyway, thank you everybody for listening today.
Are we fan dancing out?
No, we're not. So
why not? You don't have it.
Just trust me on this because we'll
okay,
talk about
people
it
find the
afterwards.
fan dance. Okay,
Put a link in the chat. Put a
Yeah.
link in the thing. But anime.
See you next week for the end of the month roundup.
End of the month where we round up the woof.
The mess.
Yeah, anyway. Thank you so much, Adrianne, for joining me today.
You're welcome. Thanks for letting me vent. I was a little angry today. That felt good though.
Yeah, all right. Well, I will feel angry every day. So
it felt good for me to be the angry one today.
I haven't felt not angry since November 5th. So yeah. So no worries. Anyway, we'll see everybody next week. Take care.
Power to the people.
Power to the people. Okay. Stop recording. We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Yes, if something resonated with you, learned something, or you want to take action.
Stay in touch with the Global Black Caucus. Our link tree is in the show notes. And always remember, power to the people.